I got it. It's going. Okay, we're going to call the March 1st meeting of the Borough Commissioners to order. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, we do have it shown there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The boroughs complied with the notice provisions of the Sunshine Law by adopting prior to January 10th of this year, a resolution prescribing the dates, times, and locations of all regular meetings of the commission. This meeting is one of those meetings listed in such resolution, and copies of the resolution were prior to January 10th filed with the borough clerk. The borough has additionally complied with the notice provisions of the Sunshine Law by advertising in 2 local newspapers the change in meeting format from in-person to remote conference. Okay, Hal?
I need a motion to file the following reports: tax collector and zoning official,
Make a motion.
Second.
and a motion to file the following minutes: January and February of 2021.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have the following ordinances. Oh, I'm sorry. We have
Well,
the,
yeah.
sorry
right.
about that.
So we're gonna start off the night recognizing one of our firefighters and apologizing to him in advance that the recognition is this way. We promise we will have much more of a ceremony and a party, not only for you, Julian, but for so many people we have retired and hit benchmarks during this last year. We're going to recognize Lieutenant Julian Delonzo, and I've got Deputy Chief Joyce is here, but I have the nomination that was forwarded into the county. It was the county, it's the County Hero Fund, that's Hero Scholarship Fund that's involved in selecting firefighters, emergency personnel for award, for recognition. This is a meritorious award, and I want to read the incident and the reason for the recognition of Julian tonight. On February 23, 2020 at 14:20 hours, Task Force 16 was dispatched for a dwelling fire with a report of a male trapped inside. The original 911 caller stated that she was robbed and tied up by a home invader, and the home was set on fire with her boyfriend still inside the house. 1601, our fire engine arrived and found heavy smoke showing from the house and visible fire in the front living room of the residence. Chief Davis was met by the female occupant who stated her boyfriend was still inside and was severely injured. Chief Davis asked the location of the boyfriend, and she stated he was in the first floor bedroom. Squad 16, commanded by Lieutenant Julian Delonzo, was arriving and was ordered to proceed to Division A to perform a search. Lieutenant Delonzo ordered his crew to begin to stretch a hand line to fight the fire, while he went ahead of the hose line to perform a primary search for the trapped male. He donned his apparatus, his breathing apparatus, and entered the home, encountering thick smoke and fire. Lieutenant could hear the male yelling for help through the smoke. He went toward the sound and located the victim and was able to drag him out of the dwelling to the front porch to a waiting EMS. The male was semi-conscious but heavily bleeding from multiple stab wounds about the face, neck, and abdomen. Lieutenant Delonzo then assisted his crew with extinguishing the fire, which was in multiple locations throughout the home. The patient went into cardiac arrest multiple times on location and was revived. The patient was then transported to Cooper Trauma Center in Camden, where he underwent multiple surgeries. In mid-March, the patient was discharged from Cooper Hospital to another facility for traumatic brain injury rehabilitation. Today, the victim is alive and still rehabilitating from the serious injuries. Within 6 minutes from dispatch, the victim was located and removed from the burning home. If not for the heroic actions of Lieutenant Delonzo that day, the outcome surely would have been much different. So, Julian, it's just amazing. thank you for your service. You have I know we've already provided a plaque you've received that, right? Oh, this is a terrible way to do this, Julian, just terrible. But I want to thank you. There you go. It's all nice and shiny. It says, presented in recognition of your actions at the fire involving the rescue of a trapped occupant on February 23, 2020 at 267 Crestmont Terrace. Without the protection of a hose line, under high heat and smoke conditions, you effected the rescue of this victim. Your dedication and commitment to saving lives and property make it possible for the residents of Collinsville to be proud of the service you provide. Julian, thank you so much. You saved this fellow's life. You kept the family together, and we appreciate the work you and everyone else in the department. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Rob, Joan, anything you'd like to add? You
You're on
need
mute,
to
Joan.
unmute, Joan.
So these are people that I've known for quite a while, and I know them even better now since the injury. And he is so on the ball and articulate and playing the piano like a virtuoso and appreciative of life. And I'm telling you, the couple is great, and we would have lost 2 lives, not 1, because they're so close and they're rebuilding their lives. And it's thanks to you. And I'm feeling like I'm going to be crying here thinking about it, because what a long road of recovery. But it's that moment that you got there to him and he wanted to live so much and you found him. So thank you from all of us who love these people.
Thank you.
And, you know, Julian, and really Jeff too, is nobody becomes a firefighter for the glory or the recognition, but it doesn't mean you don't deserve it. And we're, behalf of the entire community, we're really grateful for your actions and for your continued service. So thank you.
Julian, thanks. Anything you would like to say?
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you to the other members of Ableton, Chief Davis and Chief Joyce, because it was only the confidence I have in them is while I was able to perform such a rescue. So thank you.
That's right.
Thanks to everyone. It's the real deal right at the start of all this pandemic nonsense. We appreciate your work. And Julian, as an extra added reward, you can leave.
Okay.
Or stay.
We won't be upset. You're welcome to leave. Okay. But Julian, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And so we have another recognition, but this is kind of the other end of the spectrum. Okay. Julian, with the dedicated service, we're gonna just talk real quickly. I see we've allowed him into the room here. It's someone who is new in town, who has really distinguished himself by putting together a plan, and now all we have to do is execute the plan. Ben Moore is here with us, and I'll tell you real quick the story. This is all within the last month. Ben emailed me, said he's relatively new in town. You know, he and his husband like to get involved. He finds himself with some extra time right now, and he thought maybe he'd have an interest in doing something with the park, maybe helping put together a program to try and clean it up. And you know, people have been involved and helped from time to time with things, but he responded. I said, look, here's the green team. I hooked them. I emailed, connected him with them, and within a few days, he did this thing that we're not used to, which is he then emailed this comprehensive plan for, let me see, well, for the rest of this year, laying out, you know, a schedule, laying out a plan of how to do this, laying everything out. And so we're kind of just having been here as a way to kick off and to help remind us to announce we're going to start this on March the 20th is going to be the first date. It will be pretty much the first and third Saturday of every month. Ben, do you want to, Ben, good to see you and to see you as at least virtually. But you want to talk a little bit about what the plan is?
Yeah, I'm just excited to be a part of the community, get everybody together. You know, we moved here in June And we adopted a dog last March. And as soon as we moved here from the city, we realized, oh, we're really close to a park. And so now my dog has a place to play. And we just noticed that there was a lot of trash, and it's kind of heartbreaking because this is such a beautiful town, and we want to grow roots here. So I don't really have a lot going on at the moment. So I thought, what better way to get involved than to just reach out and see how I can put a group together to start cleaning up the park and make sure that it's a continuous thing, and great way to get people engaged and be able to socialize without kind of compromising our health, with COVID and everything. So really looking forward to it.
Well, and I'll tell everybody, you can sign up. We'd appreciate if you sign up in advance. You can sign up on the Collinsville website. A lot of the graphics and everything you see for this program, they've been enhanced a little bit, but they've been they're all part of this program that was sent over to us from Ben. So Ben, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And looking forward to get it going. Thanks for your help, and welcome to town. Welcome.
Thank you so much. All right,
Thanks.
Take care.
Okay, thank you. All right, Hal, let's rock and roll. We got a number of things to get through tonight.
Okay, we have the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 1702, amending chapter 227, property maintenance driveways.
Can we do the next ordinance with it? We'll do the public hearing on both together since they're related.
Okay, and we also have the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 1703, amending chapter 141, developmental regulations driveways.
So these are changes that are made. We talked about it at the last meeting. Going back 15 years, maybe, the change that was made had to do with gravel driveways, where we were having all kinds of issues with the gravel running out over sidewalks and into the street. So we swung the pendulum the other way and said you had to have concrete in your driveway. It had to be paved. So, fast forward to today, and now we're focusing more on issues of stormwater management and trying to lessen those impervious pavement areas. So, so we have on the book something that says you can't do that. So we're revising this kind of as a first step to allow concrete strips, going to allow grass or plantings to be in between the concrete strips. My understanding is we've already got a few people that are lined up with applications waiting for this to get revised so that they can do it in their driveways. I know there may be other changes that people want down the road, but we're going to get this one underway and see how it goes, and then make changes as we go along. This is the public hearing on both of these ordinances. If you would like to be heard on this, if you could raise your hand virtually, and we can recognize you to hear from you. Okay, not seeing anyone. How can we move these?
Mayor Maley,
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard,
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski.
Yes.
Okay, we have the first reading of ordinance 1704, amending chapter 293, stop intersections.
Chief Carey, are these the Atlantic Ave on the other side of Browning? That's where these are?
Yes, Atlantic and Franklin.
Okay, you got it. All right. So this is the first reading. Second reading will be at our meeting on April 5. It's for putting some enforcement behind it's actually just a new stop intersection. It's not a four-way, right, Kev?
Correct. Yeah, new stop intersection.
Okay.
Actually, one way there, so it's just adding a stop.
Yeah.
sign.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Hal?
Mayor Maley,
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard,
Yes.
Commissioner Lewandowski.
Yes.
Okay, we have the first reading of ordinance 1705, amending section 237 of the municipal code to require owners of certain apartment buildings to provide security guards.
So I'm going to talk probably a little bit too much on this, but I want to just have some discussion, explain to you what this is about. Chief Carey is going to provide some information as well. The public hearing on this ordinance will be at the April 5 meeting as well. This, the only, I think the only property that this deals with is the Parkview. And I just want to update folks on a couple of things going on there, and one related, and certainly related to this issue. We've been dealing with heat issues at the Parkview. There's been enforcement actions that have been going on, a number of them. I have people that email me, and we hook enforcement up to go out and resolve it. And it's been like a 3 or 4 month process now where we've engaged, we've actually in our discussions with the Parkview management about how to resolve this, what the issues are. There have been, I wouldn't say obstacles, it's more that we've been doing a lot of hunting to try to figure out what exactly the issue is and how this can be resolved. Boilers have been replaced at the property. Ownership has taken some steps there that have been very important, very positive for the physical structure. But there have been issues with heat that we have not experienced in the past. And so we actually brought in a company that's working with us at the police fire station. And Kevin, what's it called? I don't remember. What's the name of it again?
Concord Engineering. It's the commissioning agent for the new building. It's Concord Engineering is the name of the company.
Got it. But what's they're referred to as, what's the name of the?
Commissioning agent.
Commissioning agent. Okay.
Yes.
And for this layman, what it generally is working on blending and making sure that the systems are all cooperating and working the right way to give the proper heat, in this case, for buildings. So what we learned through that process with bringing Concord in is that there may very well have been some issues with some automatic monitoring of like kind of computer monitoring of the operation of the boilers. We've had meetings with management, gone over that with them. Deputy Chief Joyce, who's on here, has been a great asset in reviewing the raw data. And we've come to some conclusions and been working with them. And there have been some adjustments that have been made and some changes on that monitoring system that we are very hopeful are having a positive impact with respect to heat. It's not going to solve it for everybody. There's always going to be issues. We're dealing with over 1,000 housing units, but we think overall it's making a major, it should be making a major shift. So while that's been going on, we've also been dealing with public safety issues that we're concerned with. Quite obviously in January, there was a horrible crime. Mr. Anthony Donofrio was attacked and was killed in a lobby in one of the buildings at the Parkview. And we have over a number of months had been concerned with more and more criminal activity that involved people coming in to these buildings and concerned with the access. And that's not a new issue. We've been dealing with that for years now, trying to get things changed. But we've got some steps here that we're going to try to move on to act on it. So Chief Carey, could you give us a little bit more in terms of the data, what you've compiled in terms of police calls and incidents?
Sure. So after some of the concerning rise in serious and major incidents there, we did a 5-year analysis of calls at Parkview. And from 2016 through 2020, we saw a 45% increase in calls for service to the buildings, whereas total call for service in the municipality and borough wide went down 21%. That in itself doesn't say too much, so I looked at other apartment complexes as well. Saw a 16% increase in one and a 56% decrease in the other. So those numbers alone were very concerning to us. From there, we started looking more in depth at some of the Parkview things. This is going back probably 2 years, where I sat down with their area vice president, went over some of our concerns with some increase in major incidents at the complex. With that, we made some recommendations to have security guards on site because it seemed that a lot of the major incidents were being crimes committed by people who were not living in the building and allowed access into the building. Also made other recommendations that Parkview has taken under their wing and done, like increased lighting, reduce bushes around the building for people to hide, and just general things like that. But access control to the buildings remain to be an issue. 2 years ago, we have a foot patrol there also, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evenings. We started keeping a log of broken doors, weak points as far as entry into the buildings, and providing that to them. What we found, though, is even though they've made some of those repairs, the access was still easy to get in and out of the building. So whether that be residents opening the doors for someone else or just breaking the mechanisms, and it's hard for them to keep up. So once they're into the building, they have kind of unfeathered access throughout, and that's when a lot of these serious crimes were happening. So given the increase in calls for service there, increase in major incidents, and the decrease in calls generally borough-wide, we feel that it's a good idea to have security there, because we feel that that would decrease the amount of major incidents there and improve safety and access control in and out of the building.
All right, thanks, Kevin. We're taking, this is not a step that we take lightly by passing this type of an ordinance. We're only aware of, there's some court cases. There's only one case that we've seen that up in the city of Newark with something that's similar to this. So we're taking this action. I can tell you in conversations I have had with ownership, I have been told that this is, this is being considered. Our trouble is that there's, for the last, way too long, there's been a lot of consideration given, and it's time to do something. Things are, this borough has worked too hard for too long and become a partner for a long period of time with this building, with these buildings, and we would like to see some actions taken to end this, to give us our best chance to bring this to an end. So this ordinance is being introduced. I understand, I can tell from the participant list that our representatives from ownership on our virtual meeting. I hope that we have some further discussions to advance this. I think we're all interested in the same thing, which is that the Parkview is safe for all of its occupants, and that we're all doing everything that we possibly can to keep it as safe as we possibly can. So the public hearing on this ordinance will be again at our April 5 meeting. Rob, Joan, anything you'd like to add before we call a vote?
Yeah, I'll just say, Jim, my hope is that by taking a proactive approach and having really a constant presence is that, we can eliminate safety concerns, security and quality of life issues that we're seeing a lot of things, both big and small. And, look forward to, exploring this as an option to really make this better for everyone. Ownership to tenants to the entire community.
Okay, Hal?
Mayor Maley,
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard,
Yes.
Mr. Lewandowski.
Yes.
Okay, we have the public comment on the resolutions.
Okay, so if anyone like to, any questions, comments only on the items on the rest of the agenda. If you're here to talk about anything else, we're happy to hear from you at the end of the meeting. Right now, it's simply comment or questions about items that are on the agenda. So if you would simply raise your hand. Okay, Kate.
Kate Delaney has her hand up. I'm gonna let her speak in just a second.
Oh, you've got, okay, great. Go ahead, Rebecca. Yep.
I think I'm unmuted, right?
You're good. Yep.
Hi, Kate Delaney, 126 East Palmer Ave. I have a couple questions I wanted to ask about the resolutions. First, I wanted to ask about the mutual aid agreement. I want to ask what we were getting and providing. Is this initiative from the county? How's this different from a ordinance that was adopted decades ago, providing police assistance free of charge across the county and to contiguous counties? So what's new about this?
Okay, well, it's the same, that ordinance would have authorized a mutual aid agreement. This is simply re-upping the mutual aid agreement. Mutual aid exists between pretty much all the towns in Camden County and the county, which say, when there's a bad fire in Gloucester Township, that will, if we're needed, will help respond to that and vice versa. If there's a bad fire incident that happens here, other towns will respond as well. So it's nothing new. It's just renewing the existing agreement.
So is it for a certain number of years? Does it expire at a certain point and that's why it's on the agenda?
Yeah,
now?
I believe it is. Yes, Chief Davis told me that we're just re-upping the existing mutual aid agreement. So I would presume, yes, it's coming to an end and it just needs to be re-upped.
Okay, because I noticed the original one had police and fire, but this has EMS and public works as well. And public works especially, I was wondering what that involved for a mutual aid agreement.
I can't tell you specifically, other than to tell you that whenever there's, if there's a horrible water main break or an oil tanker explodes on Route 130 in Gloucester City, and there's problems with buildings and they need DPW work, we'll all come help them. That's all this. All of this is for emergency circumstances that everybody will respond with everything to try to help.
I also want to ask a question about change order 5, another 60,000 to Epic, and to get
Sure.
information why that is.
Sure, it covers, and Cassandra, feel free to jump in here if you want. It's about 10 different issues?
12 to 15 smaller issues that we consolidated, everything from signage changes to, shaft wall enclosures. It's a number of smaller change orders that are grouped into this larger change order.
So that's what it is. It's a number, and there could be more. There could be more, but this is what we have right now.
Okay, and the 20,000 compensation for the easement for land the borough acquired through eminent domain. This land is land that we're borrowing, yes? And then for how long is that happening?
It's what? I'm sorry.
Are we like temporarily using that land that belongs to Zane Apartments for $20,000? That's okay.
Yes, it's commonly referred to as a construction easement. So what it is an easement that extends over into the apartment's property. And it's for the purposes of doing the construction on the building from that side. We did not, it did not go amicably. We had to take it by eminent domain, and actually there was other litigation. They sued us to try to stop the building. So that's what that relates to. Yes.
I wanted to ask about the 2021 budget. That's on the agenda as well. It looks like it involves a pretty considerable tax hike. The amount to be raised by local tax levy is going up by over $500,000. I was wondering if you could speak to that, and what is the the increase per average assessed household?
We will address all of that when we get to the budget. Okay. On the average household, the tax increase is about $47. Okay, cut to the chase, to the end of the story, but we'll address that when we get to it.
Okay, because like I said, it's $500,000. It looks like that's very different than previous years.
No, I think it's pretty much the same as other years, but we can have a public hearing and discuss all of that. Let us get through. We'll talk at some length about the budget, run through a few things with it, and lay it out for people. And then the public hearing will be in, even though that's a resolution, the public hearing will be at the April 5 meeting.
And then the RFP for 641 Haddon is not attached to the agenda.
Yeah, we're authorizing. It hasn't been completed. We'll be happy to make it public. It'll be going out to the public. That is for, we were moving with someone that wanted to develop and move a business into the building on the back of the parking lot next to Groove Ground. That deal did not work out. So we've had interest from some other parties, but decided that we would do a request for proposals to open it up to let other interested people, give us their ideas and concepts before we settle on somebody to either buy that. Odds are they're going to lease it from the borough, but whichever, we're going to get some other concepts and ideas of what use there is to be made of that.
Okay.
That's what that is.
To hearing more about the tax hikes, because it's definitely a lot more than previous years.
Okay. No, it's not, but okay. So let's go. So anyone else? Other people with their hands raised?
Jen Rossi has her hand raised. Jen, you're free to speak
Sure,
now.
Jen.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Good
Jen
evening.
Rossi, 114 East Palmer Avenue. I was curious when the document for ordinance 1705 about the security at the apartment complexes, specifically Parkview, was going to be available on the website. Will it be after this meeting, hopefully before the second reading?
What document, Jen?
The actual text for what the ordinance is, because I don't see it attached to the meeting, nor do I see it in the draft agendas or documents for Board of Commissioners. So I wanted to review
Should
the
be,
wording is.
should be.
right,
Is that attached and posted up?
I thought it was. I'll have to go back and take a look.
So,
Okay, if I
so
still
the
can't
answer,
find it.
so Jen, the answer is if it's not up there, it was purely inadvertent. And we'll get it posted, as soon as the meeting's over.
Okay, yeah, if I still have trouble finding it, I'll reach out to Holly or
Mayor?
somebody.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Mayor,
Yes, yeah, Joe.
it's one revision, and it's on page 2 of the ordinance. It's where the section 1 of chapter 237 is being amended. It's section C being added.
Okay. All right. So Jen, we'll be sure that we get the revised, the ordinance that we introduced tonight, the revised ordinance posted on the site.
Okay, thank you very
On the-
much.
I do see it on the draft version that's up in the draft section now. I'll try to.
Okay,
So it's up there. It's just a 1 or 2 pager, Jen. It's not that long.
okay, I'll keep looking. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Questions on the rest of the agenda? Okay, Hal, let's go.
Appointing Joseph Peters IV as full-time police officer for the Collinsville Police Department.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Authorizing application for program year 2021 for CDBG.
This is the Community Development Block Grant. We apply every year. We'll get an allotment every year. It's used, a good portion of it is used to help support senior programming through the community center. Yes.
Yeah. yes,
Authorizing mutual aid agreement with Camden County for police, fire, EMS, and public works.
And as we've discussed earlier, this is just re-upping the existing mutual aid agreement between the borough and the county. Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Approving anticipated miscellaneous revenues in the 2021 budget using the 3-year average of realized revenues from the prior 3 years.
So we'll discuss this a little bit when we get to the budget. I'll wait till we get down to that. I'm going to run through we've got a quick little PowerPoint to run through. One of the things as a result of the pandemic that the state is allowing us to do is to average the revenues that we've received for the last 3 years in order to determine what revenues could be anticipated this year. Okay, a quick little rule of municipal budgeting is if you didn't get money last year for a certain item, you cannot anticipate getting the money for that item this year. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Parking revenues were down in 2020, as you can imagine. It was free most of the time and nobody was traveling. So parking revenues are down. So because parking revenues are down for last year, but even though we fully expect they'll be higher this year because people have been paying for parking, for our budget, we could not anticipate getting the revenue that, here it is March, we know we're going to get because people are paying into those kiosks. So what that does is put you in a bad place for doing your budgeting, because you're going to anticipate your expenses, but you can't anticipate the revenue. So what they've done is change this rule to say, because of this pandemic, you can average out what you received in that parking revenue for 2018, 2019, 2020, and give you a better average of what those revenues are. in order to average it, you have to adopt a resolution saying you're going to do that. That's what we're doing here. Okay, go ahead, Hal.
Yes.
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 Authorizing change order for safe routes to schools.
Cassandra, this one knocks the number up, right? Higher, the safe routes?
No, this is a no-cost change that was anticipated when we changed vendors. It's just a time extension that the DOT was expecting because of the vendor change.
Okay.
No
Okay, so the earlier, when we had other changes, it was, I know it's no cost, but this grant, the Safe Routes to School, through expansion of some of this work, we've gone from like a 250 grant 6 years ago to about $1 million now? Is
Like
that right?
1.2 when you roll in everything. Yep.
Okay, all right. So, yes, on this resolution, yeah.
Authorizing change order for the public safety building.
So this is the change order that Cassandra referred to. These are items that we've actually changed, some changes, about a dozen different changes on different things within the building. Yes.
Yes.
Authorizing an agreement for an easement for the public safety building.
Yes.
Yes.
Appointing planning board members, Gretchen Kolecki, Patrick Hoban, Valerie Piper, and Thomas Schmidt.
So this is related to the combination of the planning and zoning boards. And these 4 members that are being appointed to the new joint land use to the planning board were members of the zoning board that still wanted to serve. So we're appointing them over now. They'll fill out terms on the planning board. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Hal. You can read it.
Okay, introducing and approving the 2021 municipal budget.
Okay, so before we do that, let's see if the magic works here. We're gonna, I'm going to run through a pretty quick little slide presentation. We heard that some folks wanted to know more about the budget, and so we put a little not too long of a presentation together just to, and this will be up on, is this up on the website now, Cassandra?
Yes, there is a tile
Yeah.
on the front page and anybody can view it.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna run you through. Okay, first, the process. So in January of this year, we adopted what's referred to as a temporary budget. That budget is one which is governed by statute. So because municipal budgets don't get adopted until sometime in the spring, the state has a process whereby you can adopt a temporary budget. And it's basically you adopt just a little bit more than a quarter of what your budget was the year before. And the intention behind that is to try to let you be able to pay bills and collect taxes from people. It kind of ties into how you get your tax bills, right? You get your tax bills, you get those 4 quarters that you get. 2 of them cover the current year that you're in, the 3rd and the 4th quarter. And then the 1st and 2nd quarter for the next year are estimates. And so this lets us adopt a budget that's an estimate that's set by statute. And then we move into the permanent budget. Permanent budget we're introducing tonight. It will be, it'll be up on our website by the morning. We'll have this presentation will be up there. Well, it's up there already. It gets advertised in the newspaper. There has to be 28 days for before there's a public hearing on it. Our public hearing will be at the April 5 meeting. This is just quick about your property. Every dollar you pay in property taxes, roughly half is the schools, roughly 30% comes to the borough, and 23% goes to the county. Of the 30% of that tax bill that comes into the borough, this is what the breakdown is of how that money is spent. 27% on public safety, 18% is on our debt service. And then you can see the breakdown through about roughly 8.5 on public works, on trash disposal, rec, library. You see all that breakdown. And while I may be going through quick, this is, we're putting this up on the website just to give information out to everybody. and we can talk about it at the public hearing in some more detail. Here's the history of the tax increases on the average property in town. The average increase for this year, this says $46.20. I think it's actually going to be about $47, which, as you can see, is pretty much in line with, it's actually less than it was last year. We think that it's actually a great result on this budget. Part of the reasons why we're in good shape on this budget is because in 2020 we took some hits and took some action to help reduce and minimize those the spending, and we've also kind of gotten whacked with the pandemic. So here's where the revenues come from. When we pay for this budget, 63% of it, so almost 2/3 of the total budget, comes from direct taxation. About 10% of the budget is derived from pilots. That's properties that are under abatement programs. About 10% of our total revenue comes from them. And as I'm looking at this, it looks like some of the numbers don't match up. The 62, the 14%, the pilot number looks like we're gonna have to check this real quick and we'll get a corrected version up. So that's where the sources of revenue are. You can see things like, it's not even listed on here, but we'll point the one that is listed here, court revenue, okay? Our courts basically have been closed for the last year. That's a very positive cash flow department for us. We can kind of count on people not doing everything the way they should, and fine revenue for a municipality is an important one. The same thing with construction fees. While the last couple months of the year we had a pretty good construction fees, for a good part of the year jobs were shut down and people weren't doing anything, so it kind of it hurt us some. So that's the revenue sources. Here's a quick run through of what the impact of the COVID-19 has had on our revenues. You can see on the totals here that we've lost about $700,000 in revenue. A good portion of that, we took those losses. I'm sorry, I got a call coming in during this. We took a good bunch of those losses through into the 2020 budget, but those revenue losses have an impact, an ongoing impact for us, and make it just make it extra difficult, just like it has for every family, every household, every other business in our area. So here's the municipal spending. That you can see how it's kind of going up and down here. And the big variable in this is, for 2 of these years, for 2018 and 2020, we made big investments in capital projects. Okay. So it's not, the spending is not from the fact that we paid somebody a lot more money as a salary or hired new people. The increases are that we pulled out of our surplus some additional funding and we added it in to infrastructure work, to some of the work on for 2020 to the public, to the police and fire bill, plugged it into that as well. So you'll see for 2021, we've got a bit of a drop in what we're spending, even though we have an increase in what the taxes are. And the reason for that is because other revenues have dropped significantly. Okay. I've heard people talking about the debt. This is just to give you an idea. Our debt payments within our budget are actually just about the same that they were 4 years ago. Even though we have added $17.5 million in new capital projects as part of our debt. Okay. And the reason for that is simple. Over the last 10 years, we have been undergoing an aggressive debt pay down. And in doing that, that has freed up room for us to do capital projects like the police and fire building without having an enormous cost passed on to the taxpayers. Okay. I think during all the public meetings, we referred to it as we're selling off the car that you just finished the car payments on, replacing it with a new car. We've replaced that old debt with debt to build new police fire, the abandoned properties, the improvements down at Roberts Pool. And by improvements, I don't mean the playground. The improvements at Roberts Pool were huge money spent to improve the guttering system on the big pool because we were losing significant amount of water out of that. Okay, so quick summary of it. We've actually reduced the spending. We've have just gotten through a process resolving our union contracts. This covers all of our expenses as well as the anticipated loss of revenue. This budget has some new things that are actually in it. One is our police department. We'll be outfitting them with body cameras. We're beginning the process of converting our public vehicles to electric. The first is going to be a vehicle purchase for the fire department, and it includes all of the electronic charging stations for that. And as well as they're the major additional items that we've got that are coming on board. Tax increase on the average is $46, $47. If you want to judge where you stand, the average assessed home is $231,000. So you can ballpark where you'll be based on that. Pretty much the same as last year. So I'll stop the share on that. So how after that, you gonna take a vote
Okay.
on the introduction of the budget?
Yes, it's going to be a roll call vote. Mayor Malley,
Yes.
Commissioner Leonard. Can you hear me?
You're muted, Joan.
Thanks, Jim. And good job, Jim. Yes.
Thank you.
Mm.
And Commissioner Lewandowski.
Yes.
Okay. We have a resolution authorizing to solicit for RFP for 641 Haddon Avenue.
So this is, like I said, for the building and the back portion of the parking lot at next to Group. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And approving the payment of bills as presented by the treasurer.
Yes.
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 Okay, Commissioner Lewandowski.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple things. First of all, I just want to thank, a recreation program really kicked into a new gear over the last couple months with new online classes, a lot of it coming out of public opinion surveys, full enrollment in every class, every activity but one. And we're going to look to see, what else we can come up with. So we think, obviously now we're doing everything online, but the idea of sort of bottom-up programming and working with the community to identify needs and then deliver it is a neat idea. The only other thing I want to mention is Collinsville Prime. Everyone was excited to hear about it, and I'm glad. We've had a lot of snowstorms over the last couple of weeks, and that really inhibits and got people sort of off their game. Shop local. Collinsville Prime is a great way to have it delivered to your house. Stop into the downtown. Can't tell you, especially the months of January, February, March are particularly hard on local businesses and doubly hard now. So I really just want to encourage people to get out there and shop local. That's all I got.
Commissioner Leonard.
Just encouraging people to work on getting their vaccines or let us help you by calling into Borough Hall, and then stay safe and wear your masks and do the best you can. I think we're all doing a great job considering the world. So keep up the good work. Rob had mentioned about these new recreation programs. I want to also give a thumbs up to ones who've managed to persist and stay, socially distanced and do some good work, like the bike share and the community gardeners who've managed to do what they do within the restrictions and keep more and more recreational possibilities, like riding a bike and planting a garden. In April, we'll be planting trees. We have some streets chosen that are in need of greening up, but please feel free to call or email if you want your house or your block to be on that list. There's still more trees. Green Festival is really Green Day, and that is April 24th, and it will be in the town crier, online, and in your paper that comes. If you don't get the paper, let us know. We want you to have it. That's it for the moment. Mayor.
Okay, I got a few things, like I haven't talked enough. First, I want to thank Rebecca and the coordination for, I don't know for sure, but I think you may have had something to do with the fact that we were yarn bombed in the last week or so. We won't reveal any names, but my goodness, what a, listen, any little color anywhere is a wonderful thing, but yarn bombing has become just a really nice thing. I happened to be out on the avenue for some things, a bunch the day, and all the people, I was with Rob, all the people, right, that stopped, cars that stopped, coming up to the clock, taking pictures, people, it's just awesome, terrific. Along that line of fun things, on March 13th, we are doing something we've never done before. We're trying to get together 100 cars from one of our residents turning 100 years old. So March 13 at 3 in the afternoon, Lord knows you don't have anything else to do. If you'd like to come out at the Scottish Rite parking lot, which has become its new second use, is for car parades. But please come out. There's no registration, just come out. And we're going to do a little tour and head over. We're trying to get 100 cars out for this young lady's 100th birthday. I want to give a thank you to Fred McDowell, to our new school superintendent. We did a special town forum with him last week. We had 125 people were on. It was great. And he's getting us off on a great start in terms of the borough and the schools. We've spoken with him a bunch. I actually got my invite this morning for his transition committee. There's going to be a meeting next week of it. We're looking forward to in the short term trying to provide all the resources we can to help as they work through reopening and how that happens and when that happens. The borough will bring everyone we can, county, health, everybody. Last thing I have before we get to questions is cannabis. The state has finally, it's only taken 2 years to get legislation passed after a constitutional amendment. So they've adopted the law. We've gotten it in. It's pretty massive and comprehensive. Kind of been through all of it, and we've asked our borough planner to give us a little report with their thoughts. We haven't talked, Joan, Rob, and I haven't talked about this since the bill passed last week, but when we talked about it a couple of years ago, when everyone thought the bill was going to pass, we were kind of eyeing up stretches of 130 about a way to start this, but the law has been adopted. It's now, municipalities have to act within 180 days. We have started that process with our planner to give us a report on this. I can tell you that we have had a number of different entities expressing interest. We've been trying to get more detail on it. It's a funny kind of dance when you have somebody that wants to build a building, build an apartment. They come in and say, this is what I want to do. In this realm, no one knows if they're going to get a license. So they're all coming in saying, what would you feel, how would you feel if we did get a license and maybe could do this? So it's a lot more dancing going on, but we're starting that process to be ready to act on this within the time period. I just speaking personally, I think we're going to have to act to permit this and to have this work in town, because there's this provision where it's a 5-year opt-out. If you don't permit it in town, then you can't for 5 years. And if you don't do anything, then automatically the uses become permitted pretty much everywhere in every other commercial district, every other district that you have in town. So they've really set this up so that we're going to have to be making some choices, and I think we're going to want to anyway, but we've got that process started. Yeah, the
Can I just
process
jump
is
in
started.
on that?
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, two things. First of all, is in the law, there are tax revenues that would be available to us as a host community, which could serve a good thing. And then the other thing I wanted to say in terms of the 130 thing, in a lot of those conversations, invariably space and parking is an issue. And so it's not just us driving that. The market is saying we need that space. And if you've ever been to Belmar, to the medical facility, it's, it's very difficult, the parking facility. So a lot of it is the market also driving it towards, the area where there's available space.
Yep. So it's just the start, just the beginning, but we're getting that process underway. Okay, we're going to open it up to anyone with any questions, comments. If you could just raise your hand, and we will do our best to recognize you.
We have Jen Rossi, and you should be good to talk now.
Thank you again. Jen Rossi, 114 East Palmer Avenue. I just had another follow-up question in regards to Ordinance 1705. I did find it in the attachments. Thank you.
Okay.
In regards to what Chief Carey was saying earlier about the 20% noted increase and the 20% decrease townwide, what type of, are we using software, or are we just doing kind of old-fashioned pencil and paper to kind of track that activity at this point, the service calls?
Chief, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we run reports within our records management system. So there's different reports we can run based on address, and that's where we pull the data from.
Okay. So the question is, people have been talking about this for quite some time. How long has this ordinance been being thought about, worked on, talked to the property managers, et cetera? Any idea how long this has been going on?
How long? What, the ordinance itself?
Yeah, how long we've been working on this ordinance requiring that Parkview has security? Because I understood they used to have security. Has it been basically since they took it away?
No. No, that's been taken away a while ago, a long time ago. Before the current management, before the current ownership took ownership of the building. We have in the last couple months been discussing what steps we could take, because we have felt in the last half of last year there's been an uptick in police calls. Okay, it's not necessarily criminal activity, but in the number of police calls. Those are the numbers that Kevin's referring to. So, and we've just, in the last month kind of worked on a specific ordinance to try to make something, to try to get something done.
Okay. Is there any assistance or guidance being offered to them as far as, because it looks like the day that this is approved, which would be the April 5th, the ordinance would be in effect essentially, and that each day that they are not in compliance is a separate offense per the Section C of 237. Any idea where the security guard would be coming from, or is that just going to be on Morgan Properties?
It'd be on the ownership, and I do expect that this is the type of an ordinance where we would have ongoing discussion with the ownership. Okay, and you guys are aware, like we went through those years, like with the Airbnb ordinance, where we introduced it, we pulled it back, we made revisions to it based on conversations that were ongoing, hearing from the public, hearing from people that were property owners, hearing from our fire department. So this is the kind of an ordinance that I could very easily see there would be an ongoing dialogue. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, if security shows up there, I'm not usually a fan of passing a law to say something has to happen that has already happened. Okay, but I'm sure we're gonna have some discussion with management, but we need to take some steps to kind of reverse the tide here a little bit.
Okay, well, that's good information to know. Thank you for the information.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay. I'm looking. All right. I do think we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks, everyone.
Sunny
Stay
days.
safe, everybody.
Hopefully
Thank
there's
you.
sunny days. See y'all.
Good night. Thank you.